That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Slaxx, the third film directed by Montreal-based filmmaker Elza Kephart, which will be premiering on Shudder March 18th, 2021. Previously, it premiered at the 2020 Fantasia International Film Festival. And a week after its Shudder premiere, it will also roll out in Canada.
Nice. Are you familiar with Elza's other works?
I'm not, but it's from the producers of Turbo Kid and a Rick Alverson film I remember quite liking called Entertainment, which is not for everybody's taste to understand, but it's in that wheelhouse. It fits.
Okay, this movie is about a batch of jeans, like pants, because you kept saying killer jeans to me, and I'm like, I thought you meant like DNA. But it's
No, like Lana Del Rey's blue jeans.
Yeah, so it's like about a batch of killer blue jeans. That's basically it. So it revolves around a young woman named Libby, who's starting her first day at work at the Canadian Cotton Clothier, CCC. It's like a Uniqlo, H&M type store. And she's super excited to work there because she's all about their brand message of like using sustainable resources and not, making use of sweatshops. And it seems to be a very sort of like humane, organic cotton.
Yeah.
Their slogan is what?
Make a better tomorrow today.
Yeah, so she's all about it. But she shows up to work and realizes it's just your typical retail space. I've never worked retail, but from what I hear, I get the sense that people who have worked retail, like in a mall, would really appreciate some of the goings on in this story.
I did in high school, and it was triggering.
So the store is closing down, like they're going on lockdown this night we find her, because they're about to introduce their newest line of super shaper jeans, like this super top secret product that is made out of cotton that, based on the body's heat, will like meld to the body. So perfect fit every time, no matter what your size is. And during the lockdown, when they restock the store, they're going to have a YouTuber come in, like a very popular YouTuber, to introduce the jeans, like on her channel that morning. Peyton Jules. But the jeans kill everyone.
Yeah, they sure do.
It just kind of goes through the motions and everyone dies. And then when the store opens at 8 o'clock, Libby's left. So Libby's trying to block people from coming in so they don't get killed, but it's very much like Black Friday mob.
Well, because they're enacting something called Monday Madness.
It's the Monday Madness. So people are super excited to get in the store, and they break down the door. What's the word? Trample? Trample Stampede over Libby. So she's like laying on the floor with her head bleeding, and the jeans kill everyone. The end. And then... the reason that we have killer jeans is because we see that the cotton that's being used is resourced from somewhere in India, and we see a young...
Well, the sign says experimental cotton fields in Canada.
Well, it says experimental cotton fields, but then it says Canadian Cotton Clothier.
Okay.
So
yes.
I would assume that they have cotton fields in
India. Yeah.
And one of the young women, she looks like she's 13, picking the cotton, goes to put it in the machine that processes it and falls in. So she's grinded up by the machine. So we would assume that the spirit of her...
It is, because the coworker Shruti speaks Hindi and is able to...
communicate with her. So that's how we know the story, because the spirit, which is... there are some funny moments we'll get to.
Sure. But
yeah,
Eli Whitney would be so mad.
My God. So after I realized what the story was about, when you explained it was like killer blue jeans, then I'm thinking, this is going to be like Bad Hair. Like killer hair weave.
Or the Quentin Dupieux film Rubber, about the killer tire.
Yes. I've seen Rubber. That one has a little more... How do you feel about that one? I feel like it's in the same vein.
It's in the same vein. It feels like an idea that the filmmakers had, that they just had to get it out, and if you like the kind of energy and can sustain your interest for 90 minutes, then it's fine. But
I liked Bad Hair because of the era. It's like 80s
yes, I like
R&B, hip-hop. The cast is great. Everyone is interesting. It feels a little cheap, but it was a lot of fun. This movie, I think, It looks good.
The special effects, Blood Brothers FX, who also did the special effects on Turbo Kid, everything with the jeans looks good.
Yeah.
So no fault there, obviously, but it's kind of a one-note item.
Yeah, unfortunately. The minute we get into CCC, it's just like, the manager whose name is Craig, who I thought looked like a handsome Beck Bennett, the guy from SNL.
But Beck Bennett is handsome.
He's handsome too, but this guy, he's more handsome. But anyway, he's like the store manager and he's just awful because all he cares about is like climbing the ladder. So he's overworking his crew, doesn't care if they're happy or not. They're clearly all miserable. But that's kind of the problem is none of the characters in this film I liked. They're all grating. The YouTuber, the regional manager lady.
I don't mind grating or unlikable characters. Often I gravitate towards them. But there's a way to make this satire or this parody of this environment work, but it seems like all the actors are aware of, like, they're in on the joke. And what's more entertaining is when it's clear that these people aren't.
The movie is only 77 minutes, so it's short, but it felt long because it's kind of like, we see the jeans kill 2 people sort of systematically, and then it just sort of happens like quickly that it's killing everyone. Then there's like a 15-minute sequence of Libby, her coworker who speaks Hindi, and the store manager trying to figure out how they're going to escape from the jeans. And that seemed labored. And then there's just the final scene with her in the shop right before they're about to open. To me, this felt more like it would have been appropriate, like as an entry in an anthology, like maybe a 20-minute short.
That or they could have. It should have felt more camp, I guess.
Or over the top.
Right, yeah. And camp is, of course, accidental, but I wanted this to be like, there's no sisterhood in these traveling pants or
something, because it's not particularly funny. There are funny moments, but the only funny moments I found were with the jeans. So the jeans, the effects are good. So it kind of, the way it's oriented looks like almost like a frog, because it has a mouth and the back pockets are the eyes, and then the legs of the jeans look like haunches. So when it's moving, it's funny. It's eating people, so it looks like it's slurping up people. Then the jeans are affixed to a mannequin, so then the mannequin's moving. And then, I guess because the spirit of the spirit that's unrest, or in unrest, whatever, is Indian. Libby's coworker is listening to like Bollywood music, is what she says. And the jeans are dancing to it, which I thought was funny. But aside from that, it's not horrific. It's not super dark.
No, and I think the subtext also don't quite work. And I don't know if it's because it's Canadian and, a lot of the backdrops within CCC are of like cotton. And to me, this would be much more troubling if it were an American film.
Well, because I was like, I don't know that the imagery of cotton fields is like a marketing...
Soothing.
Yeah, like soothing. So, they have cotton fields throughout their marketing, which I thought was funny / like uncomfortable. But I could think also, I would be curious to know what people of a similar culture to the evil spirit would feel, because I almost found it like slightly offensive.
Sure.
Because we see this like sweet young girl doing her job. Like, she doesn't seem to have any issues except she accidentally fell into this machine. And now her spirit is just evil, just killing everyone. I kind of felt like that was a misstep.
Well, I felt like one of the subtexts is this about the globalization and consumerism. And
yes, that makes sense to me. But the fact that this like Indian girl is like senselessly killing everyone, she doesn't seem to want... what's the word they use? Not revenge. She wants people to know what happened to her. Like, they use a word that I can't recall right now, but I feel like that would have made more sense.
Or that she could have used a little more backstory once we get...
Or that, yeah.
Like how her family came to be. It's just assumed that, of course, if she's in India, this is child slave labor is a given. And for 77 minutes, it could have afforded an extra 12 minutes or so to kind of develop her backstory. Speaking
of more things, so I think more backstory on the spirit of the evil cotton would worked. I also think, there's a lot of effort placed on like the fact that like they use like non-GMO, like organic ingredients, that they are friendly to the earth, sustainable, all that. I feel like they should have played up that more.
Sure, yeah.
Because there is a scene where I think it's Libby finds out that, because Craig says, we don't, because, what's the lady who speaks Hindi?
Shruti?
Shruti and Libby are asking him, like, well, can't you, like, call the manufacturer and ask these questions, like, what's going on? And he's like, we don't know. We outsource this stuff. Like, we don't. So then they put two and two together, like, oh, so then we can't, like, this shit is not non-GMO. It's not organic. You don't even know if it's sweatshop labor because we find out the girl's only 13. I feel like they could have played that up a lot more.
They did, because it's kind of reduced to one line where Craig talks about it's communism, but it's not, because we've come to a place where we resent having to be aware of capitalism's ills, so we adopt these socialistic, communist, like terms that you would find in the Communist Manifesto per se, but just kind of paste it over what we're really doing and what is really required for the wheels of capitalism to keep on grinding the rest of the world to a halt.
I also thought, a pretty big plot point is this YouTuber named Peyton Jules, who I thought looked like if Meghan McCain were an influencer.
It's that hair, yeah.
She looks too old and she's styled oddly, and I know it's kind of making fun of the idea of an influencer, but that didn't land well for me. I didn't think she was funny. Again, I also don't have a problem with grading unlikable characters, but no one in the film, I thought, even Libby just seems so, why is she so excited to work this like retail job in a mall? Like,
where they are outright rude to her. She just seems like a rube.
Yeah, girl, there are a lot of jobs where you can do better than that. You can actually work for people who are doing better than working in a mall. But my last thought for what didn't work for me is actually like how the logistics of how everything's going down. The fact that the store is on a lockdown and no one can get out. That seems like a fire hazard. That makes no sense.
Well, it almost requires that could have worked if it was set in the 80s, per se.
Also, the owner of CCC, which appears to be like a large brand, like an H&M type store, the owner or the head of the company is coming to visit their store to announce this big thing, the Super Shaper jeans. And there were only 10 of them in the store? That seemed real crackerjack. Then the way, just the logistics of everything, why would a store manager know that their entire business model is a fraud? He wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So I just feel like a lot of the details, if you're going to play on how shitty retail is, then I feel like you have to get the details down because anyone who works in retail would know.
Well, right, just like the fact that Libby is starting her shift at 12:01, which means there's a whole scene where she won't get the employee discount because she's not an employee till 12:01.
Yes.
And then she's expected to work an entire night and then a shift the next day.
Yeah, they ask her to show up much earlier than her shift starts, but then that didn't make sense to me.
There are just a couple things. There are talks about a double shift in there. There are mentions of that. It just, I don't know, the promise that it showed in the beginning, because it does get some things definitely right about all this chirping about how's your ecosystem doing in soft lines or whatever. That worked for me. But for Tales of Haunted Clothing, I would really recommend Peter Strickland's In Fabric from 2018 with Marianne Jean-Baptiste.
Yes.
Which that is an excellent movie to see. I think it opened in the US at the end of 2019. And also, I wanted more of the logo on the Super Stretchers is that slanted SS that every time I saw it, I was reminded of, the Gestapo.
Well, I was reminded of when I was in grade school and you would draw the 3 lines with the 3 lines and connect that's what I thought. And every time the jeans kill, one of the little segments turns red. So I feel like there were cute little ideas, but really if I were to pluck all of the things that worked, it would be like a 15-minute short film.
Yeah, I think they could have gone harder on a lot of things. It could have felt more gritty at the same time, more insidious. Like Aaron Neville in the soundtrack singing about the touch, the feel of cotton.
Oh my God. What would you give this movie?
2 out of 5.
I would give it 1.5 out of 5.
Ooh.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Bye.